Hey everybody, it's Brett, TN Artist. Wanted to jump in here real quick. I have a patron over on Patreon, which if you're not a member there, you definitely should come over and join. It's $3 a month for a huge amount of stuff and a lot of discounts on the different things I have. So they were asking me about using stencils. They had bought my stencil pack, and then they said, hey, I've bought stencils from somebody else for different stuff. Can I use them in here? The answer is probably yes, that you can, as long as you've got access to it and you've got permission to, use the stencils, which I would say if you bought them from somebody, then you usually do. So how do you do that? Well, here's a couple easy ways to do it, especially since the ones that Sid was talking about are ones that they're set up really for like using stencils for painting for like shirts or walls or that kind of stuff, which those are usually going to have what you can see right here, some kind of registration mark. Now what this is for, if you don't know, that is so that when you have a stencil, like say you have a stencil, and this is one that I've been working on a plain set anyway, but let's say that stencil A has this part right here, and stencil B has this part right here, and stencil C has all the rest of this right here. Okay, because usually what it is you're layering one on top of the other to do a different color. So like if you were doing this and you wanted to do the pilot in a color, then you wanted to do the body of the plane in a color, and you want to do another one, well, you want your stencils to line up. So that's why it has these registration marks here. So that way when you lay one over top of the other, you have those that you can line them up with. Okay, so how do you do that in here? Well, let me Control Z to undo some of this clutter, and I'll kind of show you. So the easiest thing is that open it wherever it is on your computer, open that file, and then drag the stencil over, and it'll say copy. When you let go, it'll say, do you want to create new layer? You just say yes, new layer. Then you can resize that however you want. Now if you push shift, it's going to resize it and keep the same proportions. Okay, if you don't push shift, it's going to stretch all around and so forth. So you want to make sure that you've got it sized the way you want. You'll bring it in, you'll drop it here, and if you don't have something already open, you can tell it new artwork. That you saw that was one of the options. And drag it in and drop it. Okay, and then what you want to do, what I would suggest doing, is you can then select that layer, and if you go to edit, you can go to crop canvas, and it'll crop it right to that selection. Okay, so now I have this in here, and let's just say this is stencil A. Okay, and just for ease of reference here, I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of this like this is stencil B. Okay, now if they come in and they're a grayscale, like say that this is a grayscale or it's red or something like that, you want to go to your fill bucket right here and just make it black. Okay, and just copy it into black. And then the next one you would bring in and do it. Now what you want to do is when you drag it in, so let's say for example that we had drug this one in, okay, and ideally they should all be the same size. That's why I said you wanted to take that one and crop the canvas to match the size, so that way when you bring these in, they're going to just be the same size and drop it in. But let's assume that it's not. Let's say it's something like this. Okay, so what you want to do is just drop it in here about where it belongs, in the middle. If you can stretch it out to fit in there, that's great. Go ahead and do that, because if it is the same size as this one, then you should just be able to stretch it right into it, and it'll snap to the corners. Okay, but let's say that something about it was off. Okay, so you've got this here, and then you're left with this. Well, how do I get this to line up? So what I usually do in a situation like that is I will set this one right here's opacity down to just like half, and then from there I'll do Control T, and I'll drag it so that I can start aligning those dots. And see, as long as these registration dots match up, then your stencil should match up automatically. Okay, because that's why they're there. That's what they're for. So then I can just hit enter, and then I could change this back to 100%, and then I'm able to have the next stencil. And so you can go through and do this from all of those and get all of them lined up and make sure they all look good. And you can do that by just changing the opacities or setting the layer to multiply or whatever. So that way when the final piece that you see, it looks like everything's lined up, all the registration marks match, And then from there, all you need to do is you want to go to Stencils right here, and we want to create a stencil file from alpha. Okay, so stencil file. Okay, and if we go to here where it looks like I had this one selected. Oh, actually I forgot something. Hang on. Oops. Doo-dee-doo. Backspace. This is one of the things I hope fix in Rebelle. Yes, I want to do that. Backspace. Hey, you get to see me real time mess with this. So what you want to do, this all is solid. That's why it was doing that. So all of this is solid. What you want to do is come up here to the selection tool, come to Magic Wand. You can select Use Alpha and select the black, or select whatever the color is that's not white. Okay, and that's, as you can see, because I told it to select alpha, anti-aliasing. Anyway, it selected all of this. All right, so now I have just that selected, and then I could go to the, so forth. But anyway, that's how you want to do that. So because when I did it a second ago, I wasn't thinking about it. The fact that this is solid white, it's not my canvas. Because it's solid white, this is solid black. It just sees it as one image. So you saw it made a square around it, because it's like, oh, this is all just solid fill. So the stencil has to have the fill separated from the back. That's why I usually use PNG images and stuff like that to make them. But let's go to here, create stencil from selection, and now you can see I've got that there. Okay, and then what I would do is I would just hide this layer. I would do Control D. I would go ahead and get rid of this stencil with backspace. I would, again, using the exact same thing, I would select the next one's contents, just like that. And then I would do it again, make a select, stencil from the selection, go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. So that's one way you can do it, to make sure everything is lined up, make sure everything's the right size, and so forth. If they're already PNG files, then all you have to do is just go to selection, make it from image file. Now the reason I didn't do that is because I'm assuming that your images needed some sort of editing, like maybe they're gray or they're red, they're not transparent, whatever, so that they're just, a solid image or whatever. So that's why I did it this way, to show you how to do that. If they're already a PNG file, like when I make mine, I tend to do those as transparent background PNGs so that I have the solid black here to become my stencil when I hand paint them, and that way I don't have to mess with going that route. But anyway, I hope that clarifies it for you guys. I hope that clarifies it for Sid, and let me know if there are any questions, if I just muddied the waters for you or what. But as you can see, it's pretty simple. It's not that, as long as you remember that you have a white background here on black and you go in and separate it, like I forgot, it's usually pretty simple. Okay, so if there's any questions at all, questions, comments, or anything, just let me know, and I'll do more stuff with stencils, because stencils to me are fantastic time savers. I use them a lot. As you can see here, there's a lot of them here. Like my new ones with canvas is set up this way, so if I want to mess around, like if I'm doing an abstract piece and I want to put some dots, or if I want to put in some canvas texture and that kind of stuff to really add to the background and smush around and that kind of stuff, then I can do that. Okay, so like if I was doing this plain and I wanted to have kind of a cool blue background back here, then I could do that. Actually, let me show you. So Shift Control I, so that I'm selecting everything around that plane. Let's go to right here. I'll grab this blue and just go to any, let's see, one of my landscape brushes maybe. Here's an old oil brush that I could use. Just kind of smear it in there, hit 4, and kind of smush it around. It's going to interact with some of the white that's there. Or maybe I can come up here to, let's go back up here to, say, really just kind of mess around with it and smear it bigger. All right, so if if I'm trying to do something really quick or whatever, anyway, I'm not going to sit here and mess with this. But, you get the idea. Oops, I grabbed a little bit of that black there. Apparently there's something laying over top. So then I could hit backspace, get rid of that. And I've got some really cool looking stuff here now that I could go in and play around with and do. But it's just stencils are great for adding textures and whatever you want to do. Okay, but you can see where that left some cool, neat stuff. And then I could do watercolors and have it smear into it and all that. Anyway, I will do some more guides on using stencils and making them, but this was just a real quick way to show you how to clear it up and how to answer Sid's question. So again, any questions or comments? Appreciate it. Bye.